Good afternoon, everyone. Today we are with industry legend. I can say that, can't I, Alan? I can say that.
Don't know about that.
companies you've worked for. It's Adam Day, who has brought over. Do you pronounce it EXP or X? How are you saying it?
Yeah, EXP.
EXP Realty from Washington. That's correct, isn't it? DC.
That's where they're founded, yeah.
End of last year. For anyone that doesn't know who you are, what you've done, where have you been, just give us a quick introduction.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Phil. Good afternoon. So I have been in and around the industry for 23 years. This year it'll be. Started off in 97, just fresh out of school, spotty late blooming teenager, for a really good independent franchise called Country Properties, who are now part of the Hunters Group, actually. But started there in 1997. I was on that cusp of where you won't remember this, Phil. How old were you in 1997?
5.
Oh my God, that kills me. So I was there, and anyone who's watching this will remember. Anyone of a certain age will remember when you had to put the negatives on the desk at the front of the office, and then a little old man, in our case, it was a little old man, would come in, take the negative off the desk, he'd bugger off, and then he'd come back the next day with all the images, all the photos developed from the negatives. That's how we used to do photographs back in the old days. And so he'd come in, and they'd all they'd have sticky back plastic on, sticky tabs on the back of them. You'd stick them to the details and all that sort of stuff. So I remember those days, the little black box, the mailing list, the phone outs, and all that sort of stuff. And then the internet came along. And so probably as early as 2002, 2003, I started thinking that, there's this platform called Rightmove, which was gaining traction, obviously, at the time, but obviously other portals were around as well, which allows you to aggregate your properties and sell properties anywhere in the country, I felt. And I had no proof of that, but we went and set up a company called Hatched in 2005, but it's actually launched in 2006. It was one of the first online agents in the UK, or now known as Online Agents. Did that for 9 years, grew that to sort of 32 people and £1 million of revenue, and covered the whole country. Sorry?
It did really well.
Yeah, well, it's often stated that no online agents have ever made any profit. Actually, Hatch made a profit every year up until 2014. And then we, Purple Bricks came along and sort of validated what we were doing in a funny sort of way. But at the same time, they did disrupt us. They disrupted us as much as they disrupted the industry. And because they had all the money, they were doing. They had lots and lots of money to spend on TV and radio. And that was a really interesting learning curve, trying to catch up. We were trying to keep up with them. One of the mistakes we made was trying to keep up with them. We started, they were spending £5 a click on online estate agents, and we were spending £6 a click, and we had no money compared to the might of Purple Bricks, who had millions upon millions of pounds. So anyway, we got into discussions with various corporates and various other businesses, and ended up being acquired by the Connells Group in 2015. My view was you either have to buy the leads or partner with somebody who already had the leads. And we didn't have the money to buy the leads, but the Connells Group had access to hundreds or tens of thousands of leads around the country, which was really interesting. Stayed there for another 18 months, oversaw sort of the transition period. Went to run Easy Property and relaunched Easy Property as part of a B2B business rather than previously it was B2C. That was fascinating, really, really interesting for a year of how to work with estate agents, traditional estate agents, and possibly how not to work with them as well. Learned a hell of a lot, and learned a lot about branding as well. Easy is an unbelievable brand, but do clients want an orange board in their front garden is the question that I would ask now, having had that experience. And then went over to oversee the eMove and Teplo merger, which was very short-lived because obviously the business ran out of money. And then decided to take a break, and during that break, EXP came sort of knocking, and January last year started talking to them, and a year in 1 week's time, 51 weeks ago today, I started with EXP, so just a week shy of a year. So it's been a bit of a roller coaster the last 15 years or so.
It has, doesn't it? It definitely has. And then I suppose everything you've done from the Hatch to Easy Property in terms of branding, B2B, and then the eMove, I suppose you learn everything that's put you in a position now to be able to work with EXP with a hell of a lot of knowledge behind you and experience to go and now, how many agents have you got in EXP?
57 or something. I don't think I'm supposed to actually officially say, but more than 50 I'm allowed to say.
More than 50, which is a hell of an effort inside a year, by the way.
It's unbelievable. 4 months, 4.5 months. I mean, if you put the Corona to one side, we haven't, obviously no one's joined in the last, 3 weeks because of Corona. But so up until the mid-March, we were, 50 plus, so we've been going for 4.5 months at that point, which is, looking at historically at other business models, that is insane growth. That's massive growth.
And
really
you probably needed the EXP brand and systems and processes behind you in order to grow that fast. It's not really, it's ridiculous growth, really.
Yeah, no, I agree. 100%. Bringing it over from the US, there's always a bit of a worry bringing over a US company because many have tried and failed, just like UK companies gone over to America and tried and failed as well. And so it was risky. Very risky. I mean, it's still, still is risky. We're 4 months in when we've by no means proven any sort of concept or anything. But yeah, no, it was risky. I suppose, blowing a bit of smoke up my own. I've got a bit of a profile in the industry, for rightly or wrongly, and some people would think that that's just, they would wonder why. So I was able to leverage that a little bit, and get some PR and get some coverage on that. And so there, the day that it was announced, believe it or not, Phil, the day that it was announced was the 9th of June over in the States at the shareholders conference that we have every year. We did then a press release to the industry media, and we had 102 inquiries that day. And that was so that was interesting. That was really interesting. There was a lot of people saying, "Oh, just wondering what you're up to now, Adam. Seeing you've been off for the last 6 months and or 9 months at that point. It was intrigued to see what you're up to next." But so I suppose there was a bit of a joint thing there, EXP and the fact they are the fastest growing estate agency business in the history of the world. And coming to the UK as the first country outside of North America is pretty very, very privileged to be part of that.
So for those of people that don't understand the model, how does it differ from the likes of KW and the other American franchises that have come over?
So we are we're home based, so we all work from home, so we don't have hubs. That's probably the main sort of physical difference if you look at from the outside in. It's very similar. There's commission splitting. We have a commission split where it's just a straight 70-30. There's no other company in the country that comes close to that when you add in our capping as well. So you have this thing called a cap. Basically, the company caps themselves on a certain level. So if you did a £3,000 fee, for example, then the agent would receive 2,100 quid of that. But then once we receive £24,000 worth of 30%, the agent keeps all of their commission via a small flat fee. So our cap is the lowest across the country in the UK. It's the highest commission split in the UK. We don't work from home. We've got this crazy virtual world. Agents also own part of the business. So agents also become shareholders with me in the EXP. So it's a bit like the John Lewis partnership. Every single person that works there is a shareholder, which is quite cool and pretty unique. And everyone is also rewarded for helping to grow the business. There's also a reoccurring revenue stream that's on offer, which is not lettings, which is available for people to grow the business. So there's similarities, but there's lots of differences between us and not just KW, just all different sort of agents that are working this model. Because there's more and more that are cropping up every week. I see a new one cropping up.
Yeah, definitely. So you touched on the virtual world, which is something we'll come on to in a second. I just want to ask about, you said you have north of 50 team members, agents. What have you told them? What did you tell them 3 weeks ago? What did you tell them 2 weeks ago? What have you told them to do during the coronavirus? What are the changes to their business they've had to make?
It's been a real challenge. Most of these agents, we only had 11, I think it was, started up until Christmas, and then the rest have joined since January the 2nd onwards. So a lot of them have been, they had 2 months of this. and then all of a sudden the markets died and disappeared on them. So there's a few of the, and it's tailored to every agent. Every agent's different. Some agents have started with 30,000 quid in the bank. Others have started with 3,000 quid in the bank. So my advice to people with 30,000 is different to my advice to people with 3,000. We're trying to tailor that advice for everybody. I think that the general message is that you got to carry on marketing. Not maybe in week one of coronavirus. I suggested everyone shuts down and has a week off. Take a break, have a week off, put yourself on pause, reflect, take it all in, and understand what the impact of this is. Then last week we were sort of talking about, right, now's the time to plan. When do you predict the market's going to come back? When do we think that we're going to be out of lockdown? Nobody knows, and it's all guesswork. But you have to plan. As a business, for myself, we are plugging gaps. We're a new startup. There are lots of gaps. We're trying to plug those gaps at the moment. In the meantime, and I've said the same to the agents. Plug your gaps. If you've not signed up to a networking event, if you've not gone to For Networking or BNI, then research your groups. Look at those groups, because when you're tearing around trying to find business, the last thing you're doing is researching what networking group to join. So use this downtime to look at the networking groups. You might not get anyone to pick up the phone and actually speak to you about it, but research the best ones. And so it's stuff like that. But carry on marketing. What was the quote? I saw a quote yesterday from someone who stops marketing to try and save money. It's like someone trying to stop the clock to save time. It doesn't. The way we got out of 2008 was through marketing. We actually doubled down on our marketing efforts, and this is not 2008. This is not going to last for 4 years. So when I was running Hatch, in 2010, we opened our first regional hub in Exeter. Then we also opened one in Manchester and Birmingham and in Sheffield. And this was in 2010 in the pits of the market, when you were still probably at school, Phil. But we marketed our way out of it. That was how we did it. We decided to go, and it was risky. We felt it was absolutely petrifying. We were spending money and we were thinking, God, are we going to get a return? But our view was that everyone else was stopping marketing, so we should carry on. And that's probably the point at which we decided to carry on. And I say that was the fastest period of our growth. Was 2010 to 2014 was the faster growth than I've ever dealt with in the past for my business, and not as fast as others. I get that, but yeah, that was because I think we took the bull by the horns and just carried on marketing.
Yeah, you make an excellent point with that, and it's something that keeps popping up in these interviews, that now is an opportunity, a huge opportunity, and the difference will be so obvious in whatever time period we come out of this. The difference will be so obvious for the people that watched 3 series of Tiger King, or people that sat there marketing, speaking to local businesses, etc.
Yeah, well, the question you got to ask yourself, right, is if you do no marketing between now and the day that we're out of lockdown, how many people do you think are going to contact you to sell their house? It's obvious. It's absolutely plainly obvious. If you do no marketing between now and the day we get out, who do you think is going to get the calls? It's going to be the person who has done the marketing between now and the day you get out. Now, it might be about timing, and I've been really clear about, and a lot of my agents are saying, look, Adam, we can't go marketing now. And I'm saying, yeah, that's fine. I mean, it's up to them. It's their business. They can do what they want. And I'm there really for guidance and a bit of direction, and a bit of leadership, hopefully. So I've taken all of that feedback they've given me, and I've said, yeah, do you know what? You should be taking a week off last week. You should now be planning this last week. This week, do some more planning, do some learning, read a book, go on a few courses. Next week, are we going to be 3 weeks away from out of lockdown? Probably. So it's probably a good time to start next week, 3 to 4 weeks. When we think we're 3 to 4 weeks out is my sort of hunch of when we should be starting. And nobody knows that. No one's been through this before. None of us have done a pandemic before. But that's my hunch. Knowing what I know and the experiences I've had with 2008, I'd be planning that time when we're out, because I think we've got a lot of pent up demand and a lot of pent up supply that's gonna hit us hard. On not necessarily the day we're out, but the weeks following we're out. There's going to be a hell of a lot of people wanting to move because they're either falling out with their partner, they're living on top of each other, they're making babies at the moment. So in 9 months' time, we'll have a baby boom. There's already the pent up demand. It's the 8th of blooming April. There's already people that.
Even probate, I know it's not nice to talk about, but there's going to be. We spoke to a solicitor the other day who's already got 2. that are coming.
Really?
That is going to be.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate, but it's a fact. It's a fact of this, situation we're in. It is going to happen, unfortunately, and so yeah, there's going to be lots of stock. For me, it depends on the demand. If people start losing their jobs and the mortgage market tightens up, then you'll have an oversupply and then a fall in demand, and that's my only concern.
Yeah, I agree. Because I was speaking to a client this morning, and we sold his house a couple of weeks ago, and he's desperately trying to find somewhere. And I said that all agents are usually are the same in terms of, if we get called out on lots of valuations, other agents do too. And we have 8 homes that are ready to launch as soon as we get the go ahead that we'll have to do viewings. If we have 8, I'd imagine all the other local agents have some. So there's going to be a huge, all of a sudden, a lot of properties that go to market. And as you say, it just depends whether there's an appetite for them.
That's the key. It's all down to the demand. If the demand keeps up, then we're fine. If the demand subsides, then we've got potential problems. Simple supply and demand. And again, you won't remember 2007, but in 2007 the government introduced HIPs, home information packs, and there was a deadline of the 24th of May, I think it was, and we'd only been going for a year, and we had an upsurge of instructions. I mean, it went through the roof. Everyone trying to get the house on the market before HIPs came in. And I remember driving around Bedford trying to put properties on the market, and we did treble the amount of instructions in May than we had compared to April. And then the government put the date back to the 31st of August, and then we had another surge of instructions in August. And so you had this massive oversupply, but demand stayed the same, and actually, because of the financial crash, demand actually fell down. And so it was like the perfect storm in many ways. And that's the risk this time round. But I'm confident that buyers will come back, because, like we've just said, there'll be buyers that need to move house because they're living on top of each other. So I think there'll be plenty of buyers out there as well.
Definitely, we have to be positive. Something about EXP that fascinates me, and I'm sure fascinates everyone, is the virtual world. So we're going to share Adam's screen, and can you just take us through? I don't know exactly what you can do here, but show us what possibilities there are with it. If you can show us around what the things you can do, just as much as you can show us would be brilliant.
Yeah, no worries. So can you see that?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is the virtual world. So basically, you can create an avatar. Let me show you. So
what's the idea about it?
The idea of this is that rather than having physical offices to go to, we have an office to go to, and we can share and collaborate and network and train our agents and each other in this virtual environment. So you can create an avatar of yourself. So I've got a gold cowboy hat on, don't ask me why. And you can create yourself. You can't make yourself, I look slim there basically. So so you can't, I tried to add a bit more of a gut in there, but I couldn't. So and you basically get delivered into the welcome area when you first create your avatar. And you can walk around. Now we're obviously this is mainly we've got 50 plus agents and 3 members of staff. So the UK is fairly quiet up until about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and then from about 2 o'clock afternoon you have lots of people visiting. So these are all agents that are across America and staff.
Are they in there now?
They're in there now, yeah. Some of them are just standing there because they've been standing there all night and they forgot to close the program down. We have staff here. Oh, there's Ian Dobrin. Let's have a chat with Ian. So you can talk to people in the virtual world. Let me see if Ian's around. Ian, can you hear me, Ian? Are you there? So Ian Dobrin is an EXP guy, and he's popped into the virtual world probably to go to see Olivia or Tori. And he's probably forgotten. He's probably gone out for a coffee and he's forgotten his little man sitting there. So we have really what it's for. So we have a tech outpost here. So if anybody has a problem with their laptop or their computer or any sort of technology, then we can come into this virtual world and we can talk to Kimberly, who's the UK tech support lady. And Kimberly's based in Tampa in Florida, but she's up to speed with all of our systems, our CRM and all that sort of stuff. So if our CRM goes down, then agents can come in here and they can say, hey, Kimberly, what's wrong with our CRM? Hi, Kimberly, how are you? Good. We're on a Facebook Live at the moment in the UK, so I'm just showing that everyone, all the viewers around the world. So give us a wave. F1. Stuff. All right, we're off. I'm just doing a whistle stop tour, so I'll speak to you soon, Kimberly. So Kimberly's a real life person, and so she's there to help with tech support. So she's sitting in Tampa in Florida, and as we grow, we'll have our own UK teams and stuff like that.
Yeah.
This is the auditorium where we do training. So we have people that come and stand on the stage. So Christopher Watkin came and stood on our stage last week.
Really?
Yeah, and he presented a session on how to create a personal brand in a estate agency.
Yeah.
We had Ben Moore, the one with the beard, do a presentation on how to become a social media rock star.
Yeah.
You can select this screen and I can upload my slides to this screen so I can present those screens to the audience. And so the audience can then get to see what my screen is, and I'm just talking to the audience, and the audience are sitting there listening. And so training is one aspect. One of the things that I probably didn't appreciate until I actually got into this world was that every Friday at 4 o'clock and every Friday at 9:30, every Friday at 9:30, I do a meeting with all the agents in the virtual world. Now, where else with any sort of big company can you get to hear from the bosses every single week? You know, if you work at one of the corporates, you might get an email once a quarter if you're lucky. You'll definitely get one once a year saying Happy Christmas. You might have a conference once a year where you say hi, but you don't get to hear from the bosses, make suggestions, ask questions, challenge the bosses on what decisions they've made and what they're doing. Whereas in this virtual world, every Friday at 9:30, I have a meeting with all of our agents, and every Friday at 4 o'clock, the US CEO stands up on this stage and talks to every single agent and tells them what's going on at EXP. So it's a really good way of communicating with your teams, your agents, the foot soldiers, as it were, and that's like nothing I've ever experienced in the real world. You know, when I was at corporate, various different companies, you know, I didn't get to see the bosses every week. I didn't get to ask them questions every week. I might have had a one-to-one with them once a month. But this is where really the penny drop for me is having that access to the management and the is really important, I think. And you can do stupid things as well. So we have our own UK operations area. We have an auditorium for the UK. We've got a main office. So we'll quickly go to the main office. How long we got, Phil?
As long as you like. I find it fascinating.
So we have a UK office. So my team are in here. So Olivia is one of our onboarding specialists, and Olivia sits in the virtual world. And if agents want to come in and say hi to her, then they can. Hi, Olivia. You all right? Yeah, good, thanks. I'm just doing this Facebook Live. You're not watching it, are you? Oh, good. Yeah, so Olivia's here basically to help with. So Olivia's in Bedfordshire. We've got other team members in Hertfordshire, and so those guys can help agents with, you know, whatever they want help with, basically. Right. Thanks, Liv. See you in a bit. Olivia's worked with me from a hatch days. She's an experienced agent. You know, she knows her stuff. So that's why she's come to EXP, because I've worked with her for many years. This is our boardroom. This is our virtual boardroom that we all come around and sit around. All the agents come into. Yeah, and so it's a place where we can learn and collaborate and network and feel like we're part of a team still. Mm-hmm. And everyone says, "Oh, it's just a gimmick." But when people come into the virtual world, so we've opened up the virtual world recently to do this training. So Chris Watkin did his session last week. Ben Moore did a session on how to become a social media rock star. Mark Bentley, the past president of the NAA, who's an EXP agent, came and did how to do the evaluation yesterday. And we've had 80, 90, 100 people in the room listening to those sessions. You wouldn't get that on Zoom. The other thing with Zoom as well, I think people say to me, "Oh, I'll just use Zoom." Those Zoom calls are all planned. Everyone knows what you're talking about. Whereas in the virtual world, if I've got a quick question for Olivia, I can just pop into her office, just like a real world office environment, where I can actually ask that question. And again, that's something that I didn't really realize was so beneficial to me to be able to, run the business basically. And we can do silly things. We can go on the speedboats if we want to, so we can go and start on the speedboat, and we can have a little drive around on that. How do I get out of the speedboat? I always forget how to get out of the speedboat. And then you can do silly things like you can dance as well, and you can wave, and you can clap, and you can high five, and you can shake hands, and yeah. So it's a bit of fun as well, but it is genuinely an educational collaborative platform for agents and staff.
Yeah, Jules says it's very impressive, and Lucy said that her kids would absolutely love it.
Oh God, yeah, my daughter's peering through the window now on my back garden. She can hear me on the virtual world, so she's gasping to get in and have a go on the speedboats. That's what she's after. Yeah, I agree.
So I saw on that sign it said accounting as well. Is there an accounting office?
Yeah, so this is all of this stuff is probably quite American. It's all for the US. You know, there's 28,000 agents in America. So you know, there's a huge someone's dancing at me as well. Can you hear that music? So there's a huge sort of operation going in behind this. So we've got agent healthcare, we've got tech support outposts, we've got accounting, like you say. This is all sort of Americanized at the moment. As we grow, we will add things like accounting, we'll add things like sales progression, we'll add UK focused departments and areas. At the moment, the tech support is Kimberly's been trained on the UK side of things. But yeah, as we grow, we'll add more features into it as we grow for UK agents, basically.
It must have been so fun to build. Whoever built it.
Well, it's a company called Virbela, Virbela, and so apparently, I don't know the history particularly well, but apparently we've been working with Virbela for a few years now, and EXP now own the Virbela software. We own this platform, and so it's ours. We don't rent it off anybody. It must have been. And God, the changes from 6 months ago are monumental. 6 months ago it was it could be a bit juddery, and now there's no, you're running around the world. There's no problems. You can interact much more clearly with people. So it's been taken on leaps and bounds just in the last 6 months. And there's other plans. There'll be plans for it only works on a PC at the moment and a laptop and a Mac. But there is a little app for it where you can sort of walkie-talkie into every office. So if you don't have a laptop and you've only got an iPad, you can actually still access it. But you can't control it like this on an iPad. So there's still work to do. It's still a work in progress. But who knows? One day it might be a customer-facing thing. But at the moment, it's just for agents and staff.
Right. Yeah. That's what I was going to say. Is it possible to do valuations on there?
Not at the moment. But look, this is the reason I joined EXP. Because my view was that he thought I was talking to him. The view was that if they're thinking about technology, or we're thinking about technology in this way, imagine what we're going to be doing in 5 years' time. This is so far ahead, and people say, "Oh, it's a gimmick," and all this. It's genuinely not. This is how the kids of today will interact, because it's gamifying the workplace, and that's my view. And this is probably 10 years ahead of its time in many ways. But yeah, imagine what we're doing in 5 years' time.
It is, yeah. As I said, I find it fascinating. So thank you for sharing that.
No worries.
A few questions. Harley asked, how much does EXP charge their agents monthly, and does EXP do the marketing for the self-employed agents?
So first question is easy. 125 plus VAT. So 150 quid to join, and 150 quid a month to get access to the virtual world, and various other bits and pieces. In terms of marketing, we believe in personal branding. So if I was an agent, I'd be Adam Day powered by EXP. And so the agent, I have lots of respect for Purplebricks in terms of making self-employed estate agency acceptable. I wouldn't have taken this role 5-6 years ago because I didn't think that self-employed was ever going to be a thing over here. I think Purplebricks have opened that door more than anybody, because people were prepared to take the plunge at being a self-employed agent if they were guaranteed the leads. However, by spending millions on TV means the agent doesn't see the lion's share of that. Whereas with us, we believe in personal branding. We believe that, I don't want this to sound big-headed, I hope it doesn't, but if I was to put my name out in Hitchin where I live, I've been an agent in Hitchin for 22 years. If I said I'm going to be Adam Day powered by EXP, I'd get clients, because I've been doing this for a long time. I've sold thousands of houses, in the area.
Yeah.
People don't care whether I work for EXP or Purplebricks or Hatched. They just want me to deal with it. So, but that's where, in my opinion, the likes of Purplebricks have have missed that point. They've gone about it with massive TV advertising campaigns, but not made it. They have, to a degree. They've called them the local property experts, which is fantastic. It's brilliant, but they've not really given that wiggle room for the agents to go and be expansive on their marketing and empowered to go and do their own marketing, because they can't afford to. When I'm getting paid 250 quid for an instruction, and the fact that Purple Bricks are spending all this millions on TV, our view is that actually, as an agent in your area, you can go and generate that business yourself. We give you the tools to generate that business, but the agent has to decide whether they want to invest in those tools. And then we pay the agent 70% because we can afford to do that. So, you know, if we give the agent all the tools, we have a touting platform, direct mail platform, we give them an instant valuation tool, we have relationships with Facebook marketers, we have everything in place, estate agency in a box, but the agent just decides what they want to invest in and what they find, and all the training, obviously. You know, we do training on things like door knocking, and, you know, not everyone's cup of tea. I've never knocked on a door in my entire life, but some agents swear by it, so we do training on it. We whatever the agent wants to achieve, we're there to help them achieve it, really. So marketing wise, I don't know if that answers the question, but hopefully it does. It's really down to the agent. You know, we give the marketing tools and the platforms. The agent decides what they want to actually use to generate leads and business.
Yeah, I think that helps. So you give them the tools and the training, but it's up to them how they implement that.
Yeah, and the guidance, really. I mean, we use Facebook, Workplace by Facebook. So we, as a collaborative effort. So I don't know if you've seen Workplace by Facebook at all.
I haven't, no.
I can show you that as well if you like. Let me show you that quickly.
Yeah, I was asking a question why you get that up. So, Jules asks, can companies be an agent?
No,
it's
because we would be essentially reselling Rightmove to brands. So we can't accept brands powered by EXP, but we can accept individuals. That's something that's been a bit of a grey area for the last few months, because others are allowed to accept brands, but it's not allowed. Rightmove are not allowing that, and, you know, not that Rightmove dictate our business model, but, you know, we have to respect what they ask us to do, because, you know, Rightmove are an integral part of the market. Whether, you know, there's lots of talk about Rightmove being disrupted and boycotting Rightmove and all this, that, and the other. But the reality is, you know, the public want Rightmove, and the customer, the seller, wants to be on Rightmove. So, you know, I think agents that are considering dropping Rightmove are perhaps not acting in the best interest of their vendor, and that is the job that we are all paid to do, is to act in their best interests. And if you're not on Rightmove, in my humble opinion, you're not acting in the vendor's best interests. So,
I think as well, Rightmove aside, from what you've said, it's not in alignment to have a company powered by. It wouldn't make sense for what you teach and what you suggest for people to do. So it makes sense to me for you not to allow companies like that. Yeah,
I mean, I think it's a tricky one. You know, companies could technically, if we didn't have, you know, if Rightmove didn't exist, then there's no reason why we couldn't, I guess. But you know, it's a bit like if Connells opened up all their Rightmove profiles to all the countrywide brands, that wouldn't be allowed. It just wouldn't be allowed. So therefore, EXP aren't allowed to open up their profile to other company brands either. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's that's fairly clear that we can't do that. Be against the Rightmove terms, and we'd be reselling Rightmove essentially.
Yeah, Jill just said that she's never advertised with Rightmove and done very well in nearly 12 years. I think it could be area dependent. We won't get into the Rightmove debate, but as long as it's right for your clients, that's what I think we're saying. Yeah. What do you see? In fact, we've discussed that, haven't we? What we see happening in the next 6-9 months. Last question? What are you reading at the moment?
I don't read books.
Audio books, podcasts.
No, I don't pay any attention to anything. I pay attention to my gut only. I used to read books, and I felt that it clouded my judgment, and I felt that I spent too long reading books and not taking action. So I have lots of books. I've got a load of books. Well, not lots. There's a couple of dozen there, and they're all sort of, you know, I don't know, what is there? Crossing the Chasm and Malcolm Gladwell books and all this sort of stuff. I've never opened a single one of them. I used to read a few, don't open them anymore, get given them, don't open them, don't read them, don't believe in some of that stuff. I think a lot of this stuff comes from within, it comes from your gut. People know what they've got to do. And I say this to the guys, I say to the agents, don't go and read a book about lead generation that's going to take you 4 days to read. Go out and do the bloody lead generation. Like, don't read a book about it. You're just using it. In my opinion, it's an excuse to not go out and do the things that you know you should be doing. And so I don't read books anymore.
Yeah, I get your point. To counter that, I would say that you may have a natural ability to understand exactly what you need to do. And it was a book I was listening to a few weeks ago about hidden genius, and what we think is really simple to do. So we're talking about direct mail. To us, it's so obvious. To others, it's not obvious at all, and that's people's hidden genius. So you may have a hidden genius where you understand exactly what you need to do, and it's simple, but to everyone else, it's totally alien. Yeah,
maybe it's very kind of you to say so, but I'm just a thick estate agent. You know, that's the long and short of it. I'm a stupid estate agent that's
your history doesn't
done okay. Sorry?
Your history doesn't suggest that.
Well, no, I'm a good estate agent, but I'm stupid. You know, that's I'm a good estate agent. If you're a good estate agent, you can make it work. There's absolutely no question. If you're a good estate agent, if you back yourself to be, you're one of the top 3 estate agents in your town. I was going to say in the country, in your town, then you can go out and do this on your own. You don't need to be working for a brand. And this is not me trying to pitch EXP. It's just I'm trying to put it into context that, you know, reading books and all that stuff is, yes, okay, I get it. I had to read a book. A book I did read. This is the only one I read regularly. It's called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. Because that was the only book that I did read in 2004, 5, whenever it was, when I was absolutely crapping myself about setting up on my own. And that was a really good book. I read that every couple of years because you still get the fear. I got the fear about taking this job. I got the fear about going to Easy Property, and I had to read that book at the time. So that's the only book I ever read. But, and occasionally if you do need help and you do need knowledge, then you go out and seek it. But I see so many people reading books and recommending books and going on courses and, that they don't actually do what they, Chris Watkins says, so I'm conscious of everyone's time, but Chris Watkins says, in all of his presentations, he goes, I'm telling you all this, but I know none of you will go and do it. Same with books. You can read, but most of the people that read books, this will sound really bad, no, but Sam did introduce me as controversial on one of her posts earlier. But I am concerned. I would be concerned that most of the people that read books just read books and don't take action, and they do what Chris Watkins says, which is, you've come to my course, you've come to my session to talk about personal branding, yet you're not going to do anything about it. You've come to my course about direct mail, you're not going to do anything about it. Stop listening to people and spending time giving yourself excuses. Going, I must listen to what Chris Watkins says because he's a genius, which he is, by the way. Go and do it. Just go out and do it. Don't bury your head in the books and the videos and all the noise that goes on. I mean, this is noise. This is all noise. People shouldn't be watching this. Switch this off and go and do the bloody lead generation. Go and plan your day, your next few weeks. That's what this is. It's noise. It's brilliant. I love it, though.
Yeah, it's brilliant noise. I totally understand where you're coming from. I just think that people have talent in different areas, and some people are amazing agents, but have no idea how to market. In fact, I'd say 90% of agents that I come across are great at the agency, but then really struggle with lead gen and marketing as a whole. And you are probably one in 100 that find it all quite simple and obvious. That's the key thing. If it's obvious to you, you think it's obvious to everyone else. Whereas I more struggle with mindset things. So I too find the marketing quite simple and quite obvious, but I find books like Oversubscribed and things like that are all about mindset and positioning quite useful.
Yeah, I get that. Look, I struggle with loads of stuff. I'm certainly no genius. But if I have an issue, I go out and seek the knowledge. Yeah. I'll speak to people that I respect and have time for. Chris Watkins being one of them. John Cook, my old boss at Easy Properties, an absolute legend, and we still speak on a regular basis. People that Bob Scarf, I talk to Bob quite a lot. He's a genius as well. And again, I read an interesting post again from Chris Watkin saying that all these people are putting out posts saying, "Give me a call if I can help." So Chris Watkin's done the same. He said he's not received a single call, and yet I'm one of those people. I'll pick up the phone to Chris Watkin. He's way more insightful to the industry, and so is John Cook, and so is Bob Scarf, and so are all these other people. Brian Mansell, all these other people within the industry who would be more than happy to take a phone call, and they're going to give you way more information in a much shorter space of time than spending 4 days reading a book. Without a shadow of doubt, those guys will give you way more information. So when that offer is there, again, people watching this, when that offer is there from those people, those industry legends, and me potentially, pick up the phone. Make that phone call and speak to them and ask them the question, because no one's going to bite your head off. No one's going to think you're an idiot. And especially at this moment in time, everyone wants to help each other. That's the one good thing that's come out of all of this, is that we seem to be, back in the zone of wanting to help each other, which is a nice place to be.
Yeah, definitely, and that's a good point to close on, I think. So thank you very much. You lived up to your controversy, so thank you for that. Good. And I look forward to reading the comments later. But pleasure to talk, and thank you for showing us that virtual world. It still blows my mind.
Well, if anyone wants a guest pass, they're more than welcome. We're opening that up again. In the theme of helping others. We are opening that up if you want to use it.
How do they do that?
Just drop me a DM, send me an email, adam.day@exp-uk.co.uk. Just say, I want a guest pass. We'll give you a guest pass 14 days. We can probably extend it to 30. And you can have a little wander around. You go to any of our training sessions. So we've done a few in the virtual world recently. So you're more than welcome to anyone who wants that. They can just request it and we'll sort it out.
Brilliant. Thanks a lot, Adam.
All right. No worries. Cheers, Phil. Speak soon.
Bye.
See ya.